XRP remains strong. And no, this is not an April Fool's joke, folks. Let's get right on into it. We have made it to April. Q1 of 2025 is over. Hopefully, you are progressing towards all of your goals and plans for this year. We were looking to make it a big one. XRP already pushing towards an all-time high this year, and I think that we still got a lot more on the way. Now, over the weekend, you guys saw we came back down, and 2 times we nearly broke below $2. But I've been talking about this $2 buy wall. It's why I'm going to title this episode here, XRP Remains Strong. And it's on display for all of you guys to see from a technical standpoint, fundamentals, and then obviously the psychology. Everybody's looking around. Elon says Doge is not going to use, or the government is not going to use Doge. So Doge, that's out the window. And I've been talking about how the old memes are kind of lagging. Ethereum, that ecosystem in shambles. Bitcoin, that story's kind of folding. But we did see the market bounce back up today, even though the case isn't quite as strong for some of these other cryptos. There's a reason why XRP is on top of the castle, and we're going to break it down for you guys in today's update. Let's start with the broader market. And by the way, everything is at zachrector.com and linked up down below. Appreciate your support. Let's rock and roll. We'll be back live tonight as well at 10 p.m. Eastern for our usual Tuesday live show, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Hope to see you there. Let's get into it. So we're taking a look here. This is what the market was pricing in, and why crypto went back down during March was the anticipation of these tariffs, trade war, and the potential recession looming because of it. So I talked about how going into April 2nd, Liberation Day, that this would probably be the last week of downside action, short-term downside pressure up until Liberation Day, because we're pricing in this. Now, the Atlanta Fed Q1 Nowcast, which is forecasting GDP for the first quarter of 2025, it just keeps on dropping, right? At first, it was down at like 1.7%, then it's gone to 2.8%, and now they're projecting negative 3.7% GDP for Q1. But here's what I was talking about as far as the overreaction to tariffs and how this was not going to be the end of the world. And sure enough, Israel eliminates all tariffs on US goods to avoid President Trump's reciprocal tariffs. So I know a lot of people thought that this was going to be the end of the world, and the market was coming back down because of the uncertainty. Jerome Powell, that was the theme at the Fed meeting and his press conference last month, uncertainty. Well, now we're getting certain because countries like Israel are saying, hey, Mr. Trump, President Trump, please don't hit us with these tariffs. We're going to drop ours completely. This is called The Art of the Deal. And I've read the book by President Trump, The Art of the Deal. And so I understand Trump, how he works, how he operates. And a lot of people that were saying this is going to be the end of the world, our economy's done. And even though there are recession concerns, the bounce back on the macro economy here, I mean, it's the golden age. Right? There's no other way to describe it other than it's going to be a flourishing, booming economy with taxes and regulations coming down, free enterprise and capitalism thriving. And there's a lot in the works. I'm excited. Drop your predictions for the April 2nd Liberation Day. Obviously, President Trump said that we're going to be a lot more friendly on the tariffs, and now nations are already coming to the table here and saying, President Trump, please don't do us like this. And so they're already dropping it, and it's already working out. Now I'm excited to see them with the External Revenue Service and see what we got in store for that. Drop your comments and predictions down in the comments down below, though. I'm excited to see what you guys think. Now let's continue on here at the scoop, and this is why we're getting bullish, why we've stayed bullish. Nothing's really changed over here for my outlook, fundamentally speaking, because we have a very pro-capitalism, free market, Paul Atkins, SEC chair coming in. And we got a committee vote that's going to be taking place here in the banking committee, at the Senate Banking Committee, on Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern to confirm chair nominee Paul Atkins. So we're about to get that new SEC chair. Once it passes out of committee, it goes to the floor for a vote, and then we get the full confirmation, and then we will have that new SEC chair. We're also looking at a hearing coming up on the market structure legislation on April 9th. Remember, you got Moreno out of Ohio saying that we need to get market structure done sooner than later. President Trump said have it by August. Moreno and others saying we got to do August. You got that Senator Gillibrand out of New York saying, oh, we might need some time. And then what was the Timothy Massad, the former CFTC? He showed up at a couple of these hearings saying that we might need a few years on market structure. And I about want to jump out of my seat and, I won't say what I would. Basically, I think that they just need to be ushered straight out of the building when they say nonsense like that. We do not need a few years for a market structure bill. The former CFTC chair under Obama. Yeah. Timothy Massad, thank you, but exit stage left. You're done. Your time's up. Now, we knew about this one. I was talking about these are the types of funds that were already established, waiting to launch and convert over to an ETF. And that would be the Grayscale Large Cap Fund. And this is the specific fund that I said was going to be rolled over to an ETF. I've been talking about this since the Bitcoin ETFs went live last year in January, about how this was a model ETF already established as a trust, the entity behind it, right? Grayscale creating this trust that included XRP, Solana, Cardano, Ethereum, Bitcoin, their large cap fund. And I said, you're going to see a lot more. And Brad Garlinghouse has been talking about these basket ETFs. Well, now we officially have it. Grayscale filing to convert its private digital large cap fund into a publicly available ETF. So they are coming. Not just one, not just a couple, not just a few. Dozens of ETFs with XRP exposure. This party's just getting started. And there's a lot more here. XRP Ledger EVM sidechain is now live on testnet. We're about to open this ledger up to so many other blockchains, 50 plus blockchains through the integration there with Axelar. And that's getting started here with Persist as well as Ripple X. Love to see it. Now, this is the largest mint at the RLUSD Treasury that we've seen so far. Massive 50 million RLUSD minted on Ethereum. Now, I'm hoping that we're going to start to see more of this printed on XRP Ledger, but the interoperability to be able to bring back this liquidity back to the mainnet XRP Ledger is why I still think this is bullish and very important to watch. We're seeing liquidity build up over on Ethereum that can be bridged over to the XRP Ledger at any time. Ripple's ready to help facilitate that, and you'll see others that'll provide bridges as well. I mean, going back to what Axelar is doing here, this is exactly what we're talking about, bridging over 50 different blockchains. And now you're seeing this is why Ripple has been minting so much RLUSD over on Ethereum, okay? And speaking of stablecoin issuers, by the way, I didn't include this in today's show, but I saw breaking just before I started to record this. Circle has filed for their IPO. And funny enough, Newsmax, actually the news outlet, Newsmax, they're not mainstream news, they're more of a conservative, smaller news outfit. They just went public and they've exploded. They IPO'd at $10 per share. And I think they saw that they're up to about $200 per share here. So in 2 days, just blasting off. And that's the type of liquidity that's going to come into Ripple when they go public, probably late this year, maybe, but most likely next year is when I think that Ripple's going to go public. And that's going to be the largest IPO in the history of the world when they go public. I've been very forthcoming with that prediction for a while now about how Ripple's IPO will be the biggest. Circle's IPO could still be substantial as well, and they just filed that today. But Ripple's going to blow them out. The largest one was Saudi Aramco at $25.6 billion. Ripple's IPO could be much larger than that, double that easily. Okay, but so this is what we got to watch right now. 50 million RLUSD minted at the Ethereum RLUSD treasury. And then you have 40 million XRP being transferred from BitHump to an unknown wallet. So smart money, institutions, ETFs, it's all happening now. While the retail sentiment was absolutely in the dumps. And while Cointelelie puts out trash like this for clicks, they know how to activate the XRP community. If you scroll through these comments, you'll see all XRP community responding. That's why they do it, because you see right down here, they get 500,000 views. Let me scroll down here so you can see what I'm talking about. 500,000 views. XRP FUD pays well, gets you lots of clicks. I've been talking about this. There's a reason why we have full-time XRP fudsters. Think about this, guys. I make a living off of talking about XRP. Obviously, I have a bullish outlook backed up with real fundamentals. I'm not just blowing smoke up your you-know-what, right? But you have on the other side full-time fudsters that dang near make a little, well, they make a little bit. They make a few bucks, okay? But this is why Cointeleline, all these publications do this, is because it gets them attention. Now, is there any fundamentals, any TA behind this headline? Absolutely not. It's just clicks. XRP price could drop another 40% as President Trump's 25% tariffs and falling rate cuts odds spook risk traders. Now, why would they specifically mention XRP? Once again, for the clicks, once again, for the attention. And so we've seen this for the last, 6-7 years, ever since XRP flipped Ethereum, ever since XRP flipped Bitcoin. We've had this assault of misinformation and disinformation against XRP, crazy conspiracies made up again about Ripple, about me. By the way, guys, it's for the 589th time. Let me say this very clearly for everybody. I've never been paid by Ripple. I've never been paid by anybody. I've never had a sponsor. I've left a lot of money on the table by not having sponsors, and that's okay. I like being free, and I like being able to be unbiased when somebody asks my opinion about a company, a stock, a person. Even though I don't really like to talk about other people, I can just freely speak my mind. And so that's where I'm positioned. I've never taken a dime from Ripple. I've said it time and time again. I think it's pretty obvious, but there still is a lot of people that just think that I'm a paid Ripple shill, and it couldn't be farther from the truth. Now, finally, I want to show you guys here the price action that we got here today and over the weekend. So we're on the daily chart here with Bitcoin, and you can see, crypto basically came back down here. March 11th is when Bitcoin tapped 76,000. Funny enough, that's the level that I drawn on my chart here. I had a level of support at 76, and then the next one below that was at about 72. Sure enough, we hit 76, and on this pullback, we actually hit a lot of the levels that I had on my other charts too, like DAG. So we were able to see this move coming, and we were able to position ourselves pretty well. Now for XRP, this is where I told you guys right here, triple tap back in December, triple tap over here, and then I said, watch out for this fourth and final fake out pullback. And over the weekend, I dropped a video talking about the final XRP bear trap. And, folks will say, oh, well, it's never going to be the final one, right? There's always going to be another bear trap. There's always going to be another pullback. Yes, of course. But I started out the video by saying this is the final XRP bear trap before we go up to all-time high. So I'm speaking on a, short-term time horizon, right? Like, guys, right now, pullback, fake out, probably going to hold $2. Sure enough. What did we do on the chart? We went down to 202 and 205 over the weekend. Here, let me show you again. Back to the chart. We did this again in December. 1, 2, 3, triple tap $2. And then we came back down to about $2 for a fourth time. This time around, February 3rd, largest liquidation event in the history of crypto, $1.70. That was the bottom. We've been calling that the bottom. You got 2 more times for making that 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Fourth and final one, we're going to get close, but we're not going to break. Watch out for it, 202. Depending on your exchange, you might have seen it at 201, 202. I already got reports back from people saying that they had buy orders at 201, 202, and they didn't go through. And this is why I talk about setting those orders. Don't get too greedy. Don't put your order right on a round number. Place it a little bit higher than that. And so this is why I titled this episode, XRP Remains Strong. From a technical standpoint, fundamentally, you're seeing tens of millions of XRP on the move. Really, you look at this, there's been billions of XRP actually on the move. Ever since November, look at the largest whale wallets. I don't have it pulled up here for you in this video here, but look at the largest whale wallets since November. They've accumulated billions of XRP. They've just kept on buying. And then and that's smart money, and that's institutional money. There's a lot of people thinking that the institutions haven't showed up. No, the institutions have been here, but they've been here on the low, pre-allocation contracts. And just think about this, guys. Ripple was able to get hundreds of banks and institutional partners before the lawsuit and during the lawsuit with no legal clarity, over 1,700 NDAs and contracts signed before a lawsuit or before clarity during a lawsuit. What do you think they're going to be able to do now that they're out of this lawsuit? This lawsuit comes to an end here this month in the next 30 days. XRP blasts off to all-time high in the next 30 days. Lock in. Okay, this is it. The XRP remains strong. And I was listening to some traders last night talk from Korea again. And they're seeing the same thing that I'm seeing. You look around the rest of the space, it's weak. I'm calling it like it is. I know the popular thing to do in this space is to just, everything's going to go up. We're all going to win. Let's sing Kumbaya and do our little dance. Wrong. There's a reason why XRP is on top of the castle. This is not just a meme. It's a riddle with a meaning behind it. And it's a very serious one, okay? While everybody else is trying to figure out what has real value, what has real utility, who's actually solving a problem, how many more people can I get to buy this meme coin that has no utility, and the community's tried to drum up a story or a narrative or whatever it might be, right? The rest of the space is struggling right now to hold, right? To just hold levels like we've seen for XRP. Now, on the downside, look at what Ethereum's done. Some of these coins, 60, 70, I've looked at XCN, Swift Coin, Block V was down like 60, 70%. It wasn't as bad. But Swiftcoin and XCN down 80% from that high that they just busted up to. And so some of these coins, Ethereum down 60%. Some of these coins have just bled. Look at the stock market bleeding out. And meanwhile, XRP, although XRP did come down 50% from $3.40 down to $1.70, it bounced right back up. And the strength on XRP is on display. We're holding that $2 buy wall. And now I've been warning. I said, this is the last week, guys. I broke down the timeline for everybody. Liberation Day, we have downside pressure into Liberation Day, April 2nd. That'll be the end of that. The world's not going to come to an end. Most countries are going to come to the table and do a deal with President Trump because they know what's best for them. You're already seeing it. Israel dropping all tariffs, 100% of the tariffs. Oh, China, South Korea, and Japan are going to band up together to fight us on tariffs. Ain't gonna happen. Not like that, okay? So we're bringing everybody to the table. It's a great deal for everybody on both sides. For those that we're threatening tariffs with, we come together and we get a fair deal done for both sides. That's what's gonna happen out of this. Our world it has been on the brink of disaster, and yes, many bad things could have happened. My thing is, we're just not there. This isn't the big one. This whole tariff trade war, I said, this isn't the big one. And we're not going to officially, if we are going to be in a recession, we aren't going to know it till basically, what are you at? July, right? We're not going to know it for still months out here. Even if Q1's negative, you need 2 negative quarters in a row to have an official recession. So we're still a long ways away from being in an official recession. But what happens is the market starts to price that in anticipation. That's what brought us down. Pricing in recession, pricing in trade war, which people thought was going to be the end of the world. It's not going to be the case. And that's why we've been, just chilling back here, watching all this unfold. You see some coins that have real utility. We scoop them up on the dip. It's not a big deal, right? We just scoop up the dip on real utility. We remain as bullish as ever on utility-based cryptos, utility cryptos that are based in America, and companies in America here that are providing real value. There's no reason to be bearish on them. More manufacturing, more investment capital, less taxes, less regulation, maybe no taxes. I mean, who knows what's about to happen here, folks. But one thing's for sure, I'm remaining bullish because XRP is remaining strong. I hope that you guys are remaining here tapped in with us in this community that remains as strong as ever as well. I really do appreciate your support. I'm going to see you back tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern for our live show. I want to spend a lot of time with you guys doing Q&A and having a great conversation. So I'll see you back here tonight. Please like this video on the way out, and everything else can be found at my website, zachrector.com. I'm used to pointing over to the monitor behind me that says zachrector.com, but it's not there. Setting up the new office right here. We'll have it ready for you guys in a few days, okay? See you in the next one, which will be tonight. God bless you all. Thank you.